Welcome back to what may end up being the number one podcast in the world, where I'm here with Startup Hack, where we talk about everything business, tech, and finance. I have Startup Hack here, who is an AI whiz. He's also done many startups himself. He started multiple business ventures, and he is here to help us understand everything that is going on in this crazy tech world. I don't think I can go more than 5 minutes without getting a notification on my phone about somebody being poached, a new project starting up, a new insane AI valuation, everything under the sun. So Startup Hack is here to help us navigate the technicalities, the politics of it all, the inner workings, who's with who, what's going on. So thank you so much for joining us, Startup Hack. It's a pleasure to have you.
Thanks. I'm excited to be here. I'm glad to be here with McKay, who's helped me with everything finance and business. He's got a ton of experience and more licenses than my arm. He's got a lot of great business experience that's really helping me, and we happen to be father and son as well. So it's a good time. So we're excited to be here together.
Totally forgot to mention that one. Yeah, this is my pops. So these are conversations that he and I have around the kitchen table, and there's some pretty high level intellectual conversations. And I'm like, hey, you know what? We should bring this to our YouTube audiences. I think they'd really enjoy it. We did an OpenAI, we did an XAI live stream when they announced Grok 4, and it sounds like a lot of you guys had a ton of fun with that. So we have a good itinerary set out for us. So let's go ahead and dive into it. Spencer, do you want to kick us off with our first topic here?
Yeah, our first topic here is we're going to dive into SoftBank and OpenAI, right? So SoftBank and OpenAI's massive Stargate project. So Trump originally said we're going to give $500 billion to an AI infrastructure investment. And now they've actually literally said, an Oracle CEO just literally said Stargate is not yet even formed yet. And so they've actually scaled it down to one single little tiny data center. That's it. So after $500 billion promised, and while OpenAI is cutting a $30 billion deal annually with Oracle, we still haven't even seen yet one data center come out of this yet. So, it took Elon Musk 19 days to build out, 200,000 H100s, and Stargate can't even build a single data center yet. So, I mean, this is crazy to me, because when there's so much money being promised, so much money already earmarked from the government for this, how in the world have they not done this? And what does this say for Oracle and for SoftBank, who can't seem to get this deal going? So, McKay, I mean, from a financial perspective, what is this partnership and this failure signal to to people looking for AI?
I see this not only as a financial kind of embarrassment, but I also see this as just a political showcase, because this was when Donald Trump was first elected. And so you had everybody under the sun going to the White House, trying to be buddy-buddy with Trump, shake hands, be like, hey, we want to build this, because all Trump wanted to hear when he got in office is we want to build in America. That's all Trump wanted to hear. And so that's all these CEOs wanted to promise. And so you had, without any real kind of commitment, CEOs saying, we'll promise this amount, we'll promise 500 billion, 200 billion, a billion, a million. You had CEOs promising everything under the sun without any real consequence. But it was actually a really smart 4D chess move by Sam Altman at OpenAI. You had Wall Street Journal publish a piece recently talking about how Sam Altman has gotten closer to Trump than Elon Musk currently is, which, if you were to say that 4 months ago, you would have thought you were crazy, because you saw Elon Musk in the helicopter of Marine One with Donald Trump. You had Donald Trump with Elon Musk's kid, and you had some really high praise coming from the Trump admin regarding Elon Musk. And now you've seen what happened. We're not going to go into the whole backstory, but now you have Sam Altman, who the Wall Street Journal is calling one of Trump's closest AI allies. And Elon has kind of fallen out of the conversation. So even though you see very little progress, it's still a huge win for OpenAI and Sam Altman. Obviously, it does feel kind of like a failed promise to not have, and to kind of give credit. You're not, unless you're Elon Musk, you're not building a data center, or a startup pack. You're not building a data center in just days or hours. So a lot of these things with hundreds of Bs, hundreds of billions, take time to build, and that's not an excuse. But it just kind of goes to kind of the government bloat that Elon Musk tried to stop, which is he couldn't stop it. That's why he left. And so to your point, this is a failed, I wouldn't call it failed yet, like it's not going to happen. It's definitely been scaled down dramatically, but it's just the way politics goes. A lot of money was promised and relationships were formed.
The funniest thing that I think of when I hear this is I think of Ronald Reagan's joke where he says the most terrifying words in the English language are, we are the government and we're here to help. And I think this just goes to show that anytime the government gets involved in anything, the chance of it being successful, one, very low. Chance of it going fast, non-existent. The government doesn't move fast. Like that's one of the things I think Elon got most frustrated with and left ultimately too. And to his point, like he built out their entire XAI infrastructure with 200,000 chips. So much so that NVIDIA CEO complimented them on how fast and said it was unreal how they scaled this out in 19 business days. Like that's insane. And yet get the government involved and you can't get anything built.
And from Elon's point, he's probably more a fan of being Jensen's best friend than Trump's best friend right now, because he's like, Jensen, I need more H100s. What can I do? He's like, well, are they still setting on the shelf? He's like, no, they're all deployed. They're running at max compute. Like, we need more. And so it's a really good look for NVIDIA, because it's like, wow, like our products are being used immediately and we can innovate faster. Whereas the Trump admin's like, it has a check that has 500 billion on it, but it's not signed because it's not ready to be cashed yet. And so to your point, I think Elon wants to be almost better friends with Jensen Wang right now than Donald Trump.
And I think that's more valuable right now, to be honest. And
Yeah.
I mean, looking at NVIDIA's stock or the company valuation right now, I mean,
$4 trillion.
$4 trillion. I mean, that's larger than what? All but 10 governments in the world. I mean,
probably more than most states in the United States.
Yeah, absolutely. And so like when you think of that, Elon's picked his friends wisely there, if you ask me.
Totally. No, I agree. It's not fun to see Elon fall away from Donald Trump, because it did feel kind of like a uniting of good powers. But unfortunately, the war machine it's hard to see the war machine win for the good guys. Not the war machine, the political machine. Obviously, whatever you think is happening with the Trump administration, if it's whatever, we like to focus on business and tech here, but politics definitely do play a role in business and tech, especially when you have a tech focused president in the office. So you can't necessarily ignore that, but it was a bummer to see Elon and Trump fall away.
I agree with that, but speaking on one other point here is, to me, this is yet another thing that Sam Altman's aligned himself with that really hasn't produced anything yet. And that's one of the things I'm not a big fan of Sam Altman for. A lot of talk, a lot of noise. Yeah, he's aligned himself with Trump for what? Like, what has Sam brought about from it? They haven't shipped a product in a long time for AI worlds, right? Compared to what XAI has done with Grok and the speed at which Grok has grown, OpenAI has definitely fallen behind. And that kind of, brings us to even one of our next points here is the crazy valuations that we're seeing, right? So we see Mira Murati's thinking machine, right? She created a company, stole a whole ton of OpenAI employees for it, got a $12 billion valuation and raised $2 billion, got $2 billion worth of actual funds. And they don't even have a product yet. They don't have a product. They haven't shipped anything. They haven't even announced what the product is. And Andreessen Horowitz led the round with participations from NVIDIA, Cisco, AMD, and ServiceNow. These are huge names. And it goes to show how crazy the AI industry is right now, that you can raise a $12 billion valuation just because of these people's pedigree and actually get a $2 billion check. Like, what the heck's going on? At what point will the market finally wake up and realize this is ridiculous? Because how can you they're never going to see even a $2 billion revenue stream, let alone 12. So explain to me how they can actually, fund something like this.
We're going to dive into this a little bit later, but you're seeing a talent war right now. And so that $2 billion is just going to go to payroll for these people so that they don't leave. Because right now you're paying for talent. They don't have a product, like you said. So you're not paying for multiples on revenue. You're not paying for multiples on anything. You're paying for talent. And so that $2 billion is going to go for payroll and just to retain employees so that they don't leave. Because unless you have the right people in the right seats at these AI companies, you're not going to build a company without the people that know what they're going to do around AI when it comes to either building software, building the hardware, or integrating the software. And so you're right. It is ludicrous. And these companies are going to blow away in the wind come any kind of downturn, because that's people are going to come a downturn. You're going to get people that look at their checkbooks and be like, wait, how much have you made? No, I'm stopping all funding. And so you're going to see these companies, unless they get a product out, these companies, as soon as the stock market sneezes, which it hasn't yet, you're going to start to see these companies pull back funding. But until then, it's almost like the greater fool theory. It's who's going to pay more, right? Who's going to pay more for this? Who's going to pay more for this company? Who's going to pay more for this individual so that they don't leave? Or a lot of it, as I was going to kind of get into this into the next point, is a lot of it is I'm going to pay you so that OpenAI can't have you. I'm going to pay you so that one of my competitors can't have you. It's like buying an ad slot on TV, like Verizon buying an ad slot just so AT&T can't have it, right? I want you just so that you won't leave and that you can't help another competitor because I don't know why. So we're gonna hopefully that they can get a product up, because it would just be more beneficial to society if they have a product up, and it's easier to kind of analyze a company that is building something. So yeah, that's my take. It's a talent war.
So the interesting thing about that is that they're actually saying they're going to make a significant open source component. And so one of the things around AI has been, OpenAI's original mission was open, right? Like they said they were going to be open and make AI for humanity and all this. And that's actually been one of Elon Musk's biggest complaints and files against Sam Altman, is he said they've left the mission, right? So Murati is actually going back to more of that mission. And by the way, she actually left in a fairly vocal departure, saying, agreeing actually with Elon in that they've lost, that they left the original premise. And so her premise here is that she's, quote, significant open source component is what they're going to be building. And so it's interesting that these fundings are opening the are you diving into this open source component. And if you look at it, if you're NVIDIA, if you're Cisco, if you're AMD, you're a lot of these larger companies that are going to fund this, they do want to keep AI open source. It's actually not good for their valuations to be seeing a closed source component, which is where OpenAI has moved. And so I could see them kind of funding against OpenAI in a lot of cases because they've taken such a closed premise to it. And, because the interesting part about this is the more that the open source model works, the more the graphics card prices go up, right? So you can see why NVIDIA cares about this, right? It's brilliant for them. $2 billion is pocket change for them. If somebody's going to continue to help build, maybe they're going to build a competitor to Hugging Faces, right? Who's the leading source. If you want to go get an open source model, you're going to go to Hugging Faces to download that. And, and so if you want to build a componentized version to basically bring OpenAI to the masses so that everybody can develop against it, Microsoft's used this strategy for decades to invest into developers. And so if Murati's smart, and if she has the backing of NVIDIA and Cisco, she would go at this ability to be able to power developers so that they can build on AI. And so that's where I think this valuation could actually prove to be something if they can build out some really good development tools, which kind of sounds like where Murati's going with her open source components.
Yeah, totally. It's definitely something we should keep an eye on. And make sure you guys subscribe, because we will be following up with this kind of stuff. We like to follow where these things go. So make sure you subscribe, because we'll definitely be hitting all of these topics again every Tuesday morning. So if you haven't yet, subscribe, hit that bell. Every Tuesday morning we'll be live.
Absolutely. So another interesting topic is Microsoft has just dominated the enterprise space, which is no surprise to everybody, right? So one of the biggest things is that OpenAI has just run to this number of how fast they've acquired users. ChatGPT has become this thing. The other day, my wife was like, well, hey, did you ChatGPT that? And you're like, and I said, I hate ChatGPT. And she's like, well, that's just a verb now. We just ChatGPT something like you Google something. And I said, since when has that become a thing? She's like, it just is. You have to accept it whether you hate them or not. But so they've come to claim this crown of how many users they've acquired so quickly, and yet their enterprise adoption is dramatically low. It's really bad. In fact, most security officers out there are working to block ChatGPT. However, nearly 70% of Fortune 500 companies now integrate Microsoft 365 Copilot. And see, what Microsoft's done is they've done a brilliant strategy, because everybody has 365 and Microsoft 365, right? Like almost every corporation out there, I think it's something in the high 80% use Microsoft 365. And it's literally one more checkbox in the admin console to enable Copilot to be allowed into your organization. So Microsoft has backdoored their AI so well into their Microsoft 365 component that 70% of Fortune 500 companies now enable Copilot into their workflows. And so Jeffries just raised Microsoft's price target to $600, citing faster Copilot adoption than ChatGPT in enterprise. This is the beginning of the demise of OpenAI, because if they cannot get into enterprise, the $20 a month people are not going to pay the bill. It's the enterprise that are going to pay it.
Yeah, you're totally right about kind of what your wife, my mother said about GPT is it is becoming a household term. Hey, did you GPT that? If you don't, the next one that I hear is instead of did you GPT that is just use AI to figure it out. People don't care what AI it is; they just care that you're using an AI to figure it out. So OpenAI definitely had the first to market advantage because I mean, it's one of those things like where were you when you tried GPT for the first time? Like I can still tell you exactly where I was when it happened. So although it may be on the corporate level, they haven't on the enterprise level, they haven't had a lot of success. Definitely on the individual consumer side, they were first to market, so they do have that advantage. But you have to kind of think of it as a pedestal. If you're number one on a pedestal, those everybody's trying to knock you off. You have Elon trying to knock you off, so there are disadvantages to being first to market. Right now, they're reaping the rewards of it, but they have to stay on top. And so they're probably going to have to figure out this enterprise thing. And that price target of $600, Microsoft is currently trading at $510 a share. But what's really interesting about Microsoft is a cash cow. I don't have their financials up in front of me, but they're a $3.79 trillion company. They're not that far behind NVIDIA. Their margins are insane. Microsoft, they don't do anything sexy, but they are good. They have been consistent. They have good leadership. Microsoft is a fantastic company and they integrate very well. And I think the Trojan horse of 365, check a box and you have Copilot, that's a lot better than, hey, I'm going to reimburse you maybe for a ChatGPT subscription, which some employers may be doing, which is totally fine. But if you're wanting to kind of integrate it into your suite, or if you're worried about security, this may be a better option because I think you and I have talked about it. People are just putting all their raw client data right into OpenAI. And it's like, we don't know the impacts of this yet. I do have a question for you. I don't know if you've gotten a ton of time to dive into it, but do you know anything about this hack that happened with Microsoft? It kind of broke yesterday afternoon. So if you haven't, no worries. But what happened with Microsoft yesterday?
So their SharePoint suite, which is a suite that's been around for 20 years. I actually built SharePoint components in the early 2004, 2005. So SharePoint's been around for over 2 decades, and largely the last people who really use it are still government. And that's actually the most dangerous part is it's a really old server software, which basically allows you to do like collaboration tools, document sharing, and those kind of things. And so it's run on mostly government servers at this point because everyone else has moved on because it's a terrible suite. It's old, it's really outdated. And sure enough, it got hacked. And so this is another one of those points where, the most terrifying words is for the government, we're here to help. If their own servers can't even remain secure because they're relying on old technology. So the version of SharePoint that got hacked was actually 2019 is actually the version, but the fact that it's still running on a huge swath of government servers goes to show how far behind government tech usually is. Now, I know most people are like 2019, that's only 6 years old. Man, in the tech world, 2019 is like a boomer.
Yeah, I listened to an interview yesterday where they were calling Teslas old. And I was like, it was
Yeah,
like yesterday when Teslas was the hardest thing on the market. It's like it's old. They called Teslas old tech. And I was
yeah,
like, what? Like, how is
I
it
know.
like you have to iterate and innovate fast in this world of fast moving things? So hopefully that answered your question about my thoughts on Microsoft. But the way that they're able to integrate, it's brilliant, and it definitely gives them a competitive advantage against OpenAI.
Yeah, Satya Nadella is brilliant. I think he's one of the best tech executives. And like you said, he's not flashy. He's not super sexy. He's not Steve Jobs up on the stage in a black turtleneck, right? Like he is very quiet compared to a lot of other tech CEOs, but they have just quietly amassed their cash cow. Microsoft in the corporate world is not going anywhere. No one has dethroned them. They've been there for 2 decades. I didn't like Steve Ballmer. I thought he was an idiot. I thought he was too flashy and loud, and he was wrong most of the time. Satya Nadella has been definitely a good move for Microsoft. Very quiet, very steady, and very, very smart and very strategic. And so the way they have played Copilot, which actually is one of the worst in benchmarks, this goes to show that like tech doesn't win because they're the best, right? Because Microsoft Copilot consistently benchmarks.
Hmm. Did you freeze, Spencer? You might have frozen. Who froze? Was it me? No, I think it was you.
Sorry.
No, you're
Nope.
good.
It's me. I think I
All good.
lost the internet for a second there. So Satya Nadella has consistently, put Microsoft into the right spot. So I think this goes to show how your tech leadership can be really smart and make great moves for you, can also really hurt you in the long run. And I think he's amazing. So
Yeah, it's been great. Great. What do you got next?
let's dive in here. Let's talk about some AI salary race, right? So
Yeah.
Mark Zuckerberg has just lit the keg on fire, man. I think it's been brewing for a little while. We've seen slow moves with, AI poaching of talent, right? But Zuckerberg decided that the metaverse sucked. And he tried to fix it. He's rebranded it yet again. And now he is just willing to pay literally any top dollar. So recent reports coming out that he made an offer for $1 billion. He offered one AI tech executive a 4-year, $250 million per year for $1 billion offer. And the person turned it down to stay with OpenAI, right? This is how crazy the market has gotten to try to poach AI tech talent right now.
Why would you stay?
Money's not the reason these guys do this, right? Like they all are getting so much money at some point. There's definitely been tons of research shown that there's periods of diminishing returns, right? You get to a point where you make more than 50 million a year, it's a number, right? It's not like they actually spend it. They don't care about the money at that point. So they're probably in the middle of some project that they want to see through. Andre Kaparsky is a really good example of this, right? He stayed with Tesla for a long time, tried to get poached away from tons of other people, had crazy offers, ended up just leaving just because he wanted to, right? And so this goes to show that he stayed with Tesla's FSD for almost 13 years, but then ended up just kind of drifting off. And he pops himself back in, right? He pops himself in back frequently, but considered one of the best minds in OpenAI or in AI out there. And he actually went OpenAI, Tesla, then back to OpenAI. So he's a good example of one of these early talent poaches, and then just drifted off because he's now doing what he wants to do. And I think that's a lot of what these guys do, right? So Microsoft actually came in and acquired all of the top talent of Windsurfer rather than buying the company, because that gets really hard with red tape. They just came and poached all the people because you can hire people however you want without any legal red tape, but did that for $2.4 billion. Right? Like these are big numbers. So the talent race is crazy right now. Like you said,
So I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Is Mark Zuckerberg poaching talent so that others can't have it? Or is he poaching talent because he's building this product that we don't know about yet?
I get asked by my followers all the time if I think that there's secret things going on, and if somebody's secretly building a superpower. I don't think anybody's doing anything secretly, because I think they're so vocal right now about this. And the reason why is because every single like saber rattle out there right now affects their stock price, right? Like, I mean, by huge margins. So
Yeah.
I think Zuckerberg's doing this because he's already spent almost $100 billion. So Facebook is approaching $100 billion mark on what they've spent on the metaverse so far. And so far, he has absolutely nothing to show for it. And so if nothing else, he can show, well, at least I've got this talent. And I think he truly believes if he brings this talent in, he will get something out of the metaverse. And I think he'll be able to take the metaverse and turn it into an AI powerhouse. Right now, Meta's Llama, their latest Llama release was kind of a dud. It didn't really top any of the benchmarks and definitely didn't grab any headlines. But their actually older model of the 3.2 model is still considered one of the best small models out there. And Meta does everything in open source. But again, as we talked about this open source and this flip, the actual latest, these are all just rumors, but the latest rumor is that their new model will not be open source. Now, I'll be curious to see if that's true, because Zuckerberg's always been really big about open sourcing all their AI work. But so we're going to see if this becomes open source or not. But I think the talent shortage is so bad, so low. There's so few people who actually understand how to build these large AI systems at scale that it's just a mass power grab when the money is worth so much.
Yeah. No, I hear what you're saying. When Meta has their earnings call, I'm really going to pay attention to what Mark Zuckerberg is saying, because he's going to get questions from analysts like, why are you spending so much shareholder money on this? I mean, Meta has the money. And so I know we think $100 billion from the metaverse is a lot. I could see him just scrapping it and using that compute for something else. Entirely possible. Meta is a $1.7 trillion company, so not quite Microsoft, about half the size of Microsoft. half the size of Nvidia, but still a multiple $1 trillion company, which is pretty crazy. You also, kind of going back to the talent war, just yesterday, I believe you had Elon Musk poach one of Nvidia's top AI minds. He led Cosmos, a state of the art world model, and he's joining on the Grok 4 team. So even Elon's not being left out of this talent war, and I think I don't know what's going to happen from here. Like, how much better is Grok 5 going to be than Grok 4? Like, how much better is that for the consumer? Like, what do we see from here?
So I think this from Elon is very strategic. Elon has grown Grok with absolute brute strength, right? So OpenAI has tried to do kind of a combination, but Elon is like literally the biggest data center, the biggest subset of data, he's literally just brute forced it by throwing the biggest at it. So I think this is actually shows a very strategic hire that Elon's like, okay, we built 200,000 H100 systems. I got to make it bigger. How do I do that? I got to go steal the guy from NVIDIA to help me do this, because I got to know even down at the very, like, how can I squeeze more out of those chips, right? How can I do more on the data center? So to me, this tells that Elon is just still going at the biggest model. He's just, how do I go bigger? And he's going at pure hardware strength,
Yeah.
which he can, right? And I actually think it's a brilliant strategy. I think that's really, really, I think it's a really big strategy, and you don't hear a lot about XAI poaching people. I think they've stayed a pretty small, concise team since Elon's built it. So to hear a big, high-profile one, I looked into who he stole, and I think that's what was most telling from that talent acquisition.
Great. Awesome. What's next? Do you have another point?
Let's see here. So, I mean, let me jump into my notes here. We talked about some of the enterprise adoption. I think this is going to be
I think you froze
Yep.
again.
I
Oh,
should be back now.
yeah. There you go.
You do a lot more reading of company valuations, a lot more watching of earning calls. How much is AI becoming a topic in these earning calls that we hear?
Any company that's not integrating AI is being left behind. That's just what it is. People are asking, how are you integrating AI? Everybody wants the AI multiples. So you're seeing a lot of these big companies just figuring out, like, even though Meta doesn't have a huge consumer model, that's probably what they're working on now, is a consumer grade something. But they need to figure out, because I'm surprised that maybe the adoption of it hasn't been as big as it should, which I've actually kind of switched to Grok this past week. I've started using it a lot more, but I'm surprised that Grok is a separate, like, it's downloading another app, and people don't love that. But hey, if that's what this next boom is, it is. But right now, it's just it used to be the metaverse, it used to be crypto. Analysts just like to follow fads. They just, because their clients are asking, like, hey, I want sell all of my stock. I want to go buy, let's say, Tesla, because all they do is AI. I just want to put everything in Tesla. And so these analysts are like, wait, but we think we have a really good deal here with Meta. Like, hey, Zuck, like, we're trying to bring more money to you. What are you doing with AI? Oh, well, we just poached 5 AI guys. Stay tuned for earnings, right? So you have a lot of these analysts they ask questions every earnings call. How are you dealing with AI? How much impact are you seeing with AI? How much efficiencies are you seeing with AI? I mean, even Lucid, who hasn't even touched the surface of like their ADAS system, their full self-driving system, was super rudimentary. It was lane change, and it was a glorified adaptive cruise control. They partnered with a third-party company so that they can say they have an AI FSD. So even some of these automotive companies are trying to figure out how they can say they have AI on their platform.
Which is really funny, because at the end of the day, very few people are actually really using AI
Yeah.
correctly.
How much have you dove into, as an AI mind, how much have you dove into Palantir?
Not a ton, a little bit. I've been trying to research them recently to kind of see what their AI approach is. They were definitely one of the early people to start talking about AI predictive models, AI analysis, and they've kind of used that buzzword even before it was really a buzzword. They used more about machine learning and about AI, but honestly, like, they're pretty tight-lipped about what they're doing. It's
Yeah.
pretty tough to find a lot of detailed information, and those from the inside. You want to talk about talent poaching and things like that. You haven't heard about anybody leaving
Yeah.
Palantir.
That's true. Why aren't people like, yeah, that is really interesting. A lot of what they do are government contracts and Department of Defense and things like that. So I don't know, like that is interesting. I haven't heard of many talent poaching coming from Palantir.
From or
Um,
to, either way.
yeah, that is really interesting. I don't have an answer for that. Um, the joke with Palantir is like they're this massive company. Nobody really understands what they do, but everybody kind of does. But yeah, they were one of the first companies. And I mean, even this year, their company has doubled. They were at $75 a share and they're $51 a share now. And over the past 12 months, they're up 433%.
That's crazy.
But you're not seeing them grab these headlines. I mean, you'll see a headline like, "Hey, massive contract secured," but they're not really the way to kind of I think about Palantir is they're not in the AI drama. They're not in the Sam Altman, Elon Musk, Donald Trump AI drama. Palantir is just really good at what they do, and that's not telling people what they do. And maybe that's their secret. We stick to our contracts. We show people what we can do. We help the government, and they are securing more and more commercial grade contracts. A way that I've heard explained to me before is Palantir kind of like if you own a Jamba Juice, for example, Palantir tells you how much staff you're going to need on a Wednesday that has a rainy afternoon. Like it's predictive data set modeling, which is kind of how I've just kind of understood it, which you can see how that would be really valuable for the government and for the military in protecting troops and different strategies around that. So that's the kind of the best way I understand it. I know we're getting a little close to our wrap up time, but do you have any other thoughts or anything that you'll be paying attention to or anything that has really stuck out to you that you want to talk about?
I think we're going to end up seeing an AI reckoning. I think there's going to be a reckoning around these AI valuations. I do think we're starting to see the cracks in a bubble burst, and everybody always thinks that means that, oh, AI is going to go away. That's not what I'm saying at all. I'm an AI realist. I think that AI is here to stay. It's not going anywhere. But just same as when the bubble burst in the dot-com boom, the internet didn't go away, but we saw the reality to what it is, right? And so the interesting thing that I think we're going to see here is I think we're going to see corporate adoption become a huge metric. And I think it's going to be one of the Achilles heel of OpenAI. Sure, you got a bunch of individual billion users out there. Like how well can you monetize that?
Even Grok has a government contract now. Did you see that?
Exactly. Yep. And
Interesting.
so, yeah. So I think you're going to see a lot of it come around, enterprise adoption, right? Because if you're not getting the enterprise, the stickiness of it is like, users are fickle, right? And they'll go to the next platform. You and I have both bounced off the different platforms recently, right? And I use like probably 4 different platforms because I've found which ones do best at different things. But I'm definitely one of the higher end power users, right? And so I think you're going to see corporate adoption. I do think we're going to see valuations fall. I think it's got to happen. I think there's no way these valuations can stay at this level for this long. It's just not sustainable. And eventually the VCs will chase the next bright thing. Now, I don't know exactly what that is. I think it's still going to be something AI related, but I think you're going to see it niche down. I think you're going to see us niche down at more specific AI related things and less of just we have AI. And I think that's indicative of the bubble bursting, right? The same way that you had a .com and you were worth a ton in the .com era, just because you have AI isn't going to do anything. So it's not just we have AI, it's what are you doing with the AI, right? And I think that's where like Copilot's done super well because we're the AI of corporate adoption, right? Like we're the enterprise AI. And I think that's going to become hugely valuable. So I think that's what Zuckerberg's trying to do and poach all these people. I think he's trying to build something that's going to be sustainable long term, right? So I think those are some of the things that we're going to see over the coming, weeks and months. And I think these are the early signs of it.
Totally. Yeah, no, I agree. I think we're gonna have to start seeing real revenue from these AI, not these ideas. I don't know if the talent poaching will ever settle down. Maybe it's just ramping up. I don't know. My crystal ball is kind of dirty. But we're heading right into earnings season. I think Tesla's gonna have a huge earnings call. I can't wait for Meta. I'm excited for all of these Microsoft, everything like that. But thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys are just tuning in, this is Startup Hack. This is my father, but he's also one of the best AI technical minds I know. I try to take my spin at finance and business and things like that. But come here every Tuesday morning for a tech-heavy, business-heavy podcast where we take both tech and business and how do they work together? What are we seeing out in the news? And you get a technical perspective on it as well as a finance perspective on it. So if you guys have enjoyed, consider subscribing. Spencer, do you have any last comments?
Nope, that's it. Appreciate the time, and we'll look forward to seeing you guys again every day on each of our channels. Look for Meet McKay for business and finance, and for Startup Hack, where we love to build software for companies. So
Awesome. Great. Thank you guys so much for watching. We'll see you next Tuesday.
See you
Bye,
guys.
guys.